No smell at all. Like a leather. In today's episode, I'm learning about what happens when you die in Spain. Join me as I explore the Costa Brava cemeteries, starting with the magnificent Montjuic and Poblenou in Barcelona, and finishing with small local gems like the Arienge de Mar cemetery, located right next to a cliff. We'll see what the Spanish funeral is all about and witness what happens to the body after it is put for the eternal siesta in one of those burial niches. I'll compare everything to what I'm used to at home and show you the Spanish funeral industry through my Polish undertaker's eyes.
Hola. ¿Sabes que para grabar necesitas?
And the lady just went inside and came out and said, Director, okay, so permission to film. Yo trabajo con los muertos en Polonia.
Ah, bien. Pasa, no sé si...
And I show the cemeteries and
Pasa. Paula,
I can go inside here.
¿tú sabías algo de inglés?
What struck me in Spain the most at first, as a person that's used to bury people almost exclusively in the ground, is that the Spanish are not buried, but their unembalmed bodies are placed in the above-ground burial niches instead. Those niches, called nichos, are leased for at least 5 years and can be prolonged up to 50 years, with some exceptions. One niche costs about 25 euros per year. Spanish funerals are among the fastest in the world, and most of the dead are put into the nichos within 40 hours after death. Nobody really knows why. It's a tradition here and a completely normal thing. Today you die, tomorrow is your funeral. The average cost of a funeral in Spain ranges from 3,000 to 4,000 euros. If the niche is located reasonably low, then the casket is put into it by hand by 2 undertakers, but if it's high up, then the electric lift is used, with one person enough to operate it. A piece of polyurethane board is put in place, which is then sealed around. Next, the final granite plaque is cemented onto it, and the whole thing is enclosed in glass. There's a little bit of space in between the granite and the glass, which makes most of the graves looking like little display cases. People put various items inside them, and you can find absolutely everything in there. From religious symbols, sports memorabilia and unusual personal items, to Batman, Homer Simpson, and different types of construction vehicles. After the contract expires, the niche is opened and emptied. What was left of the casket is put into the skip, and the family can order cremation of the remains of the body and take the ashes with them. They are allowed to keep them at home, or they can go and scatter them where they please. The mountains and the sea are the most popular choices. Unclaimed remains are taken out of the niche and put into an ossuary, which is just one huge niche. I was expecting a stinking pile of bones and was very surprised to see mummified bodies that were held together by the dried out skin and didn't smell at all. As soon as the body is put into the niche, the gut bacteria starts eating it, but the dry Spanish summer heats up the niche like an oven, the bacteria dies, and the body dries up completely, along with any other life forms on it. This gentleman died 15 years ago in the hospital. His obesity allowed him to be preserved a lot better than the previous person, and that's because the fat prevents the tissues from drying up quickly, and thus the drying and aging process is not as rapid as with someone who is skinny. The remains can be exhumed from the niche even as soon as 2 years after the funeral. Here, each bag contains one member of the family, waiting to be joined today by a casket with their young relative. A piece of PVC pipe is prepared for the casket to be pushed in with ease. This is the like 5th cemetery that I visited here.
No, there are in Mataró 2 cemeteries.
Okay.
This and another.
And how many graves do you have here?
About 4,500. 14. No, aquí 14, 4.500. 15. 15.000.
15.000.
50. No. This is for you?
So this is.
For you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so I got 2 books. So very nice people, but the language barrier is a problem. So I need to learn Spanish more than just a few words.
Buenos días. Buenos días.
Buenos días. The cemeteries in Costa Brava that I visited were located either on the hill or right next to the sea, sometimes so close to the sand that you could sunbathe right next to the corpses. This small cemetery in Calea is a good example of that, as it is sandwiched in between the train tracks and the beach. Every cemetery that I've seen had a built-in toilet, which was a nice surprise. The main attraction of my whole trip to Spain and the Catalonia's crown jewel of cemeteries was the Montjuic Cemetery, occupying half of the Montjuic Hill with the other half taken up by the Montjuic Castle. This is the biggest cemetery in Barcelona and it has it all. A great location with the port on one side and a panoramic view of Barcelona on the other, beautiful monuments, crypts and mausoleums in quality and quantity that will make your head spin, and Europe's biggest funeral hearses museum on top of all that, with spectacular carriages overloaded with complicated ornaments fit for a king's funeral. The cemetery and the museum were way too big to be covered here, so they will be presented in separate videos. Needless to say, I've never seen anything like it, and I was running around like a headless chicken, overwhelmed and overstimulated for over 5 hours, knowing well that since I won't have a chance to visit again soon, I need to make the most of it. I could keep coming back every day for many months and still find something new and exciting among the Montjuic's 150,000 graves. Since reburial is popular and not a big deal here, as it should be, the bodies of the family members are often exhumed and put together in one niche, which makes Montjuic the final resting place of over 1 million bodies, or rather what's left of them by now. The Spanish cemeteries have weird opening hours, which makes them hard to visit sometimes, because there's a tradition of siesta here, which makes them close their gates for a few hours each day. Why do cemeteries need siestas since the dead are resting this whole time anyway? Well, it's for the living that work here. The siestas prevented me from visiting some of the graveyards, and I quickly learned that if the gate is open, I should check it out now, or it could be never. Every cemetery here is spotless and very well kept. The flowers that are put on the graves are most often plastic, which is of no surprise when you've seen what the sun does to the bodies. Each cemetery has its own set of ladders, and the more ladders, the bigger and more popular the cemetery. The new cemeteries, although pleasing to the eye and often in a great location, like this one in Mataró, seem to be void of the spirit of the old ones. They are more pragmatic and cost efficient, and just don't have that kind of old beauty made just for the beauty's sake. The new cemetery in Mataró is clean and neat, but it feels like being under the expressway sometimes. The Poblenou in Barcelona is the polar opposite of that. Even when you exclude the spectacular sculptures there and just focus on the niches, they still feel like they have something more to offer than the squeaky clean new ones. I guess I just prefer stories that are at least 100 years old and feel better in spaces that have much more to tell me. Cremation in Spain is getting more popular each year, and it had reached 44% in 2021. The trend is visible even at the Montjuic Cemetery, with brand new columbaria put up in one of the last empty plots at the very bottom of the cemetery. With cremation on a steady rise, places like this will soon become the last remnants of the old ways, and the funeral as we know it may cease to exist altogether here. Scattering of the ashes in a favorite spot of the deceased could become a #1 choice in the future, and as the young generations are leaning more toward the ecology and saving the planet, this could be one of the ways available for them to express that. For me, there's nothing like a cold wet soil, but I'm just an old man. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.